The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the BSD webinar. Before we begin today, I'd like to go over just a few housekeeping notes. Following the webinar, you'll be receiving an email from us. That email will have a link to the recording of a webinar, as well as a link to a free trial of BSD Spec Link. Now, I'd like to direct your attention to the control panel of GoToWebinar. You'll see an option for questions. If at any time during the webinar you have a question, please feel free to submit it here. Thank you for joining BSD Spec Link's Expert Insights. Oh, sorry, looks like we're having an issue here with our. There we are. My name is Sarah, Strategic Marketing Manager here at BSD Spec Link, and I'll be your moderator for today. I've been with BSD Spec Link for the past year, where I've been fortunate enough to put my passion for building community to work. I'm also a proud member of CSI, the Construction Specifications Institute. Now I'd like to turn to today's panelists and allow them to introduce themselves, starting with Holly Jordan of Perkins & Will. Holly?
Hi, I'm Holly Jordan with Perkins & Will, and I also am a proud member of CSI. I'm a fellow of the Institute. I'm the Director of Specifications at Perkins & Will, and I work in Dallas, Houston, Austin, and I dabble in Chicago and Boston.
Thank you, Holly. That's perfect. I know Myrna is having a few technical difficulties and we'll be logging in shortly, but let us go ahead and introduce Jeffrey. Jeffrey, can you introduce yourself for us?
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Ornstein. I'm an administrative project manager and analyst at the design department at the New York City Housing Authority. Basically, I archive all of our specifications. I'm the administrator for SpecLink. We've been using SpecLink since about 2007. I also oversee consultant contracts, consultant architects for various projects that we have, and I've been with the Housing Authority for about 27 years.
Wonderful, thank you, Jeffrey. And now, last but certainly not least, I'd like to introduce Daniel.
Hi there, this is Dan Neary. I am a senior architect with New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. Had my own firm for 25 years and then came to work with Parks about 5 years ago. I'm with a design group. We do design and construction for the Hudson Valley District of Parks in New York State.
Wonderful. Thank you, Daniel. Now I'd like to start with our first topic for today, collaboration and streamline operations. Now, Holly, I understand that Perkins & Will and UT Southwestern Medical Center have been working closely together to update your masters there. Could you start us off with what that process has been like and speak to some of the collaboration between the architect and owner there?
So the first thing that's most important is getting to know exactly what your owner wants. So we started off with having a meeting with our owner, UT Southwestern, and some of our subject matter experts, the engineers and the architects and the interiors teams at UT Southwestern, and we tried to get a feel for what exactly they wanted. So especially the engineers, they have their own documents that they wanted imported. So we started off with importing their documents into SpecLink. There was a little bit of a challenge with some of our users to get past the learning curve One of the things that really streamlines the whole process is instead of sending emails back and forth constantly, first off, what's most important is we have one contact, one person, one contact with Perkins and Will, and one contact with the client, and that helps so we don't get, you know, so many emails going back and forth. And then when we start utilizing the software and we start getting past the learning curve on the software, it really streamlines the process to use the comment feature in the document. So instead of having to go somewhere and look to see what needs to be updated or commented on, the comments are right there in the SpecLink cloud, in the software, and we can go back and forth in the software. So that was really streamlined there. Also, we have SpecLink is really good about doing training, and for myself and for our client, and they put together some tip sheets for us, and that was like really great. The tip sheets went to the client, and then I saw the tip sheets and said, hey, let me have those tip sheets. So using a cloud-based digital platform rather than using maybe Word documents and emails works really well. Streamline the whole process, especially like I said, the commenting process.
Hello.
Hey, Myrna.
Hey.
Hi, Myrna.
I was connected. I was just muted.
We have Myrna from UT Southwestern Medical Center joining us. Myrna, can you speak a little bit to what you and your organization did to prepare your team for these like enhanced collaboration efforts and order to streamline operations?
What BSD did was gave us initially a run-through demo of what the capabilities were of their software database, master specifications, I guess management. That was very helpful. And then later they also, when we engaged them for an actual collaboration effort with Perkins and Will to update our specs, which were very, very old. They were like 10 years old. It was helpful that they gave us some quick how-tos, or I would call it tip sheets on how to navigate the website, because it's a little bit, it looks very simple to run and click around, but when they gave us the actual how-tos, that really streamlined a lot of the reviews, a lot of the commenting on the platform. So that was very helpful.
Wonderful. Now, I know you, Holly, and I were speaking the other day about how people are collaborating more. They're more excited to provide comments. Can you speak to what that process was like before and how that's changed, especially now when I think so many people are, you know, working from home and we have so many disparate offices where we're all trying to connect and collaborate a little bit more closely. Can you speak to what that process has been like?
Sure. That process, the process already with BSD was already streamlined to begin with. I think what helped the most us to streamline the process of not only to have others contribute to the commenting of whatever was posted on the BSD website was the work from home initiative, obviously because it was started by the COVID, but the fact that we were able to get on Microsoft Teams or get on a phone call with a lot of our facilities management teams to encourage them and to give them a level of comfort in using the software and engaging them in the software so that they felt they were part of the entire collaboration effort. So that helped. Holly's availability too, and her team and their knowledge and their willingness to help us through the process of that was also instrumental. I think not only that, I think as a team, as we kind of learned, ways to improve on communications, especially as it relates to collaboration efforts on the platform, I think that was enhanced by our team. Our team's management effort of the entire thing and trying to collaborate with and influence in a very positive way the changes that would take place. Change is very difficult. New software, using new software is very difficult. So we were very, very forthcoming about what would come to our facilities management teams. So we kind of eased them through that phase. I think that was very challenging for us to do, but it was very well worth it, because once we got everybody on board, people were willing to comment and return comments in a timely fashion. So I think the whole effort really helped streamline that.
That's great. So that little bit of time on the front end to really save you all the time and frustration later on.
There was a learning curve, no question about that. But I think once we got over that, I think we began to see the fruits of our labor.
We had one group there who initially they wanted to download the document and send emails with all of their changes, and they really surprised me. They were really great about actually putting their comments in the software. I was really impressed with the willingness. Once they found that, hey, if it's a problem, I'm here. We can answer your questions. I was really impressed with the team at UT Southwest. That they actually used the commenting and went digital instead of using the old school mark it up with pencils, red pencils. I was very impressed. It was really a wonderful experience.
Yeah, I was very pleased by that as well.
Wonderful. Now, Daniel, with New York shutting down, can you explain a little bit about what the process has been like, trying to connect all your colleagues and move through this design process?
Sure. Before New York went on pause in mid-March, we had been making a transition to all cloud-based applications for creating construction documents, design tools. And so we had transitioned from the desktop version of Spec Link to the cloud-based version. And once we were sent home, the cloud-based version gave us an advantage to continue to be able to work efficiently with people, not only at their homes, but kind of far-flung across our large region, which goes from New York City up to Canada. So our design operation, typically we will be working remotely with people, but it allowed us to deal pretty smoothly with the transition to working from our own home-based PCs, rather than working within our agency's computers to have it be cloud-based. So it made that transition really smooth.
That's wonderful. Jeffrey, anything to add from your side?
Well, my topic that I really wanted to talk about was the document uniformity, but I really think SpecLink helps in getting various specifications from various sources all together in one place, where before we didn't have something like that. So when we go into the next topic, I would like to expand upon this thing even further.
That was about the best segue I could ever ask for. So here we are, document uniformity, our next topic for today. And Jeffrey, I know you and I have had several conversations about just how incredibly important this is. Can you kick us off?
Yeah. First of all, I'm required to say that everything that I say is my own personal opinion and not the opinion of NYCHA. Okay, so I have to say that. But anyway, the thing that impressed me most when we started to use SpecLink, 12, 13 years ago, was how uniform all of the documents were when they were, uploaded into SpecLink and then downloaded as a PDF or a Word format. Now we have specifications from all different sources, from in-house, from our consultants, from contractors, specifications that we pull off the internet. So they're in all different formats: CSI format, AIA format, no format at all, or some format that you can identify. So SpecLink has been, such a great tool in getting everything into CSI format, which is the way, we are going at the Capital Projects Division at the Housing Authority. Now, one example that I want to give is our Division 1 specifications. This was a project that has been ongoing. About 3-4 years ago, we started to update all of our Division 1 specifications. We have about 60 different sections. A lot of them came from, as I said, like different sources. And since we have several hundred people in the department, everything was in a, many specifications were in, all different kinds of formats. So after we started to make revisions on what we had, I took everything and uploaded it into SpecLink. And then when I had everything in there, all of the sections in there with all of the first revisions, I downloaded everything in a Word format and printed it out, distributed it to everybody, and it looked just so much more professional than we had before. So that, to me, that was like really impressive. When someone would give me a further update after we would meet like once a week to update our Division 1s. And this was an ongoing thing for about a year. I would get their revisions, and when they put it into their computer, when they would revise it themselves, the CSI formatting that I got from SpecLink was lost. So then I re-uploaded it into SpecLink, or rather, I took the original that I had in SpecLink, and then I just made revisions as their comments required, downloaded a new copy, and it was a perfect CSI formatted specification again. So, when you use SpecLink, you don't lose the formatting. And that is probably one of the best things that I really like about using SpecLink. It's much better than using a template. It's much better than, because with a template you can often lose the formatting, and this is what happens when you use something like that. So this is much better than using a template. It's much better than any other tool I've seen on the internet. Like I use like Zoho, and there are other services like that to upload documents and to format them. I use that. I don't use that at night. I use that personally, but SpecLink is just so much better than something like that. And another thing that's really great is that you can easily switch between different formats in SpecLink. What I mean by that is you can automatically change from CSI format to AIA format, or you can build a custom format for yourself. So you can just instantly, change the format as needed. If someone needs an AIA formatted specification, and if it's originally in CSI format, it does it like automatically. And another really good thing about SpecLink, which I like, is that if you are creative, you can even use it for maybe some other kinds of documents. I did some other forms and other types of things that we needed within SpecLink that were not actually specifications, but something related to it, but a little bit different. So because of SpecLink's, formatting capabilities, which is something that I have not seen in any other program. So I think it's a product with even more potential than just writing specifications. So, for me, having everything in a single format, no matter what anyone gives you, no matter how many times you're going to revise it, having everything being able to be downloaded into a very professional looking format is, I think is a great thing to have.
Thank you, Jeffrey. We had a question come in through the question panel here. And again, if anybody ever has any questions during this presentation, please feel free to submit it there. Question was, for the panelists, are you working on are working through SpecLink Cloud or the SpecLink E, the on-premise version. Daniel, I know you mentioned moving from SpecLink E to SpecLink Cloud.
Yeah, that's correct.
Jeffrey, are you using SpecLink Cloud or?
Well, our subscription is currently with SpecLink E, and I'm trying to get them to move to SpecLink Cloud in our upcoming renewal. So, and I've started to use SpecLink Cloud. I like it a lot better than SpecLink E. SpecLink Cloud has a much better interface than SpecLink E, and you know, I hope to make this switch. I really like the way SpecLink Cloud looks over SpecLink E.
Wonderful. And then Holly and Myrna. Holly, I know you and I were speaking earlier today about the intelligent linking through SpecLink Cloud. I believe we are fully cloud enabled now.
Yes, I'm using the cloud. I have UT Southwest documents. I have about 383 spec sections all in the cloud. I'm sitting here right now clicking and linking through. I know how to use the SLE, and we have it. We've migrated all of our documents over, all of our Perkins and Will specs, and over to the cloud, and our projects over to the cloud. And it's just so much easier. The linking is so much easier. The drag and drop. So I only use the cloud. I don't think I could go back to the older one. It's so fancy, so nice.
Love to hear that. Now, before we move on to budget and time savings, which I know we had a lot of questions come through about that subject, anything else that we can add to document uniformity? Holly, Myrna, or Daniel?
Well, for document uniformity, I think it's very important that we have that, because from the master specs that we've managed to update on the BSL cloud, I think it's important that if a university or a system is thinking about developing design guidelines to distribute to their A&E community, I think it's really important that both documents, the design guidelines and the master specs, are in sync with each other. So that would be in keeping with document uniformity. I think that's a challenge, but it's not impossible. It can be done. But I think if you have a good backbone of master specifications already, and they're on the cloud, which is tremendously helpful because everything is linked and everything is updated, I think that streamlines that process, but it also keeps document uniformity throughout all projects that UT Southwest will engage on moving forward.
That's great. So not only building future specifications, but also using it to store that information and to manage those existing masters.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. That brings us to our next topic, budget and time savings. Now, I know we spent a lot of time here talking about SpecLink Cloud. Don't worry, your check's in the mail. But can you share some other technologies that you're leveraging to help with this process through, especially now that so many of us are remote, working across, disparate offices and still trying to stay in touch and trying to collaborate and streamline operations? Daniel, I know you and I were talking about BIM 360 earlier and Teams. Can you speak to some of these programs that you're using and how that's been going for you and your team?
Sure. We're using BIM 360 for file sharing for our Revit files and other CAD-based files as a platform for sharing that information. And as I said earlier, the cloud-based version of SpecLink allows us to do the same thing with our specs and work remotely and share projects and have multiple people working on the same spec at the same time. Various sections, different sections of the same document. And I guess part in here in time savings and would be, I guess I'd second what Jeffrey said about being able to bring in other specs. That when we bring in consultant specifications and merge them into our specs, it's just surprisingly easy to be able to do that and create a consistently I don't know, to create a consistent appearance between all spec sections, consistently formatted. So the word I'm looking for.
That's wonderful. Holly and Myrna, could you share some of the things that you've been doing to help save some time and save some money? I know we spoke a lot about the comment section and the ability to add those in there just to keep things flowing and to cut down on emails, which I know, especially now, can be pretty cumbersome.
I think just having everything digital, where everybody can open it up and where everybody can see all of the comments, I think works really well. It cuts down on the emails. It saves time. The formatting. I'm not having to go through and like really reformat all of their documents. I had some documents for their masters from multiple sources, and they were in different fonts and they were formatted differently. But once I pulled them in, I don't have to spend time with the formatting. They all look the same. So that works really well. So we saved a lot of time with not having to go and reformat Word type documents, because they're all the same. They're all in the same font. They're all formatted the same. That's been great.
Yeah, I would have to say that the huge time saver was the master specs that we already had that were CSI format, and that was what we had. At least we had a starting point, and we didn't have to start from scratch. So that was a huge time saver, and that helped Holly, streamline her process. But then it also saved us as an owner time, and also it helped us tremendously to convince our facilities management teams that a lot of the information that they would like shown in the cloud master specs was implemented in the cloud master specs. So we did take a few bits and pieces from what works here on campus, and we were able to implement that on the cloud through the help of Holly's team. And so when they opened up the cloud and they would see that some of that information or some of that content that was in our master specifications made it into the cloud, they were very comfortable seeing that, hey, the consultant, Holly's team, and us, the design team, they're listening to what we're saying. They are taking into consideration that. And so that gained the confidence from them that they would, that helped with the confidence that they had in us and in the whole process. And so that time saver there was, they jumped into the software and started engaging in the platform and actually interacting with the platform. And then on top of that, they were interacting with us on Teams, and the fact that we could see Holly work through the document on the cloud, that she shared her screen, that was very comforting, I know, to the team. And so when that was happening, more engagement from them was evident, and that saved us time, and we were able to meet our schedule, and that was very important. So from a schedule standpoint, that helped tremendously. So having to meet our schedule milestones and review times, that's where I guess the rubber met the road for us, is that we met our schedule dates.
So incredibly important, both the ease of use and the increased visibility, I think, is incredibly helpful. Something else that we were discussing the other day, the use of tags for the mock-ups and submittals, and especially when working with interiors. Can you speak a little bit to that and the global formatting, the global terms formatting?
So I'm sitting here right now listening and tagging Myrna's documents right now. So once I get all of her documents tagged, you know, a lot of times when people are reviewing documents, they're looking for what submittals, what product data, what samples, etc. Shop drawings, maintenance materials are being required. So I'm speeding up their process by tagging these issues now, and they'll be able to run a report and know exactly what their specs are asking for. So I'm sitting here doing that right now. I'm also, you know, a lot of times owners ask architects for outline specs, and you can toggle back and forth. If you do outline specs from scratch, and they're not based on your masters, it's very time consuming and wasteful to do outline specs, because you do the outline specs and then it's just thrown in the garbage. But with the tagging, I'm tagging the outline, the headings in this document, and we can just flip a switch back and forth, and they'll be able to have their outline specs and not waste time. That's a massive time savings right there. That's just really great. So I'm tagging, and I'm putting outline in these documents right now. So I'm hoping that you'll be pleased when you see these, Myrna.
Okay.
So you're able to both be a panelist on a live webinar and generate these tags. That's pretty impressive, Holly.
Yeah, and listen to my dogs bark. Can you guys hear my dogs? It's driving me nuts.
Very passionate about budget and time savings through the design process.
They are.
Wonderful. Now, this brings us to my next topic here, which is near and dear to my heart. I'd love to spend some time discussing how the group here is working to bring about the next generation of design professionals, whether it's taking part in an association, in mentorship programs, in volunteering to be on panel webinars like these. Could we go around the room and just discuss what you're doing, how you're involved, and if we have any young design professionals on the line today, what they can do to get more involved and to learn more? Holly, if we can start with you.
Okay, so basically I have some spec trainees and a new spec writer that I work with and mentor. So the first thing is although it may be overwhelming sometimes for a client to see a whole room full of spec writers, they come with me to every meeting. So when we have meetings, my team, they know the UT Southwest specs just as good as I do. And we had some specs that we did for another large institutional client, and I think it's like really great to take your beginning spec writers with you. They can learn, they can see the whole process. They know the documents as well as I do. So we started, I take them with me to all of our meetings. We have CEUs. I encourage our beginners to do CEUs. As a matter of fact, I have one beginning team member who we start out with like doing the basic packaging and table of contents and changing headers by hand, so she can get to know the documents really well. And today, actually, we're taking the next step because she knows how to package the documents. She knows what's in the projects. Now I've given her a list of documents, and she's going to start actually writing those documents. And we turn the track changes on, and I'm there to help if, and I look at them with the track changes. We encourage everyone to take the CDT, the Construction Documents Technologist exams, and once they're ready, take the CCS exam also. I think the CDT program is like a really great foundation. It's just the basics that someone can learn. I think it's very helpful. We go to meetings. One thing that's very important is to meet and get to know our manufacturers reps. It's a little bit more difficult now, but we've kind of gone with our videos and our teams. Everybody goes to every CEU. They participate in educational seminars. Every email that comes to me or is copied to our beginning trainee spec writers, so they can see what's most important is when someone asks me a question, that when I answer the question, so they can see the answer that I'm giving and why, and then we go offline sometimes and we discuss why I answered something. I encourage them to go to trade shows, maybe not right so not so much right now. We go to manufacturer websites. Networking is important. I have a list of books that we purchased for our beginning spec writers, so they can look at those books. One of the things was important if you are not an architect but a different kind of spec writer coming from a different place than architecture. I sent one of our team members to classes to learn how to read drawings. It wouldn't hurt for anyone to go to that class. It was like a really wonderful class. We talk about what are the personality types and what are the attributes of a spec writer, what kind of education requirements, what can we do to help you learn, what classes can you take. So those are the things that I teach my junior spec writers.
From our internal team, I was able to, before I even came to UT Southwestern, I was already a CSI CDT, so that's the exam that Holly's talking about. It is very, very useful to get that certification because it helps you have a well-rounded mind about project delivery and also the concise way of writing specs. So I think that is a huge plus. I think that helped our team. It helped me definitely to manage my team to embark on this huge effort to update, 10-year-old master specs. So that definitely helped. There is a young lady who works with me, and she is going to take the exam this summer, and she I guess her interest was sparked once she started to learn how we were putting together an effort to update our specs and then also to reach out to different people on our campus. She was very, very interested in obtaining that certification. And then I know she has spoken to Holly as well, and Holly's kind of served as a, kind of like an external mentor. But I'm hoping that I've been a mentor to my report here, because I think that's important. I don't think there's enough of that, especially in the specifications writing world. There's just not enough of that. So.
Hi, this is Jeffrey. I would like to say that I would like to reiterate the importance of the CDT. I also have the CDT certification, and I think it's something very, very good to have. And I think anyone who is interested in project management should really look into taking that exam, because I found it to be, while studying for it, I found it to be very helpful just in the work that I do at the Housing Authority. I would also like to mention that SpecLink also comes with, like, I think 700 or 800 pre-written specifications. And so that has also been a very big help to us, because while a lot of our specifications are, or at least some of them are kind of proprietary, that were written by another entity specifically for some of the work that some of the specialized work that we do, there are other specifications that we need that are very generalized, and we have taken some of those 800 specifications and just modified them a bit for our own use, which also has been very helpful to us, in addition to all of the document uniformity things that I mentioned previously, and also being the SpecLink administrator where I am. It's also good to know something about computers, outside of what you normally do, because I have installed SpecLink E on people's computers. I provide them, with all kinds of instructions, with all kinds of documents that SpecLink has produced, and I'm there to, answer any questions or to help anybody out who needs help with using SpecLink. So that's another thing that I do. See, specifications writing, when you first hear about it, probably isn't something that most people would normally want to get into. So I think you have to make it like, something like really interesting and something that you would, want to learn. So I think, having something like the CDT program is good. I remember a few years ago, I got some emails from CSI about a new exam that they were trying to put together. It's like a CDT for government professionals that would basically specialize in government project management. I don't know what actually happened to that, but me as someone who has worked in the public sector for quite a while, I think that would be an interesting thing to see, actually happen. In getting new professionals into spec writing might not be the easiest thing, but I think with a program as easy to use as SpecLink, or rather SpecLink Cloud, I think that definitely is a good tool as a start, for young professionals to really understand how to write specifications. Because when you first come out of school, you don't really know how to write specifications. It's something that you don't do in architecture school. As I remember, there was like very little specifications writing in architecture school. So I think having a tool such as SpecLink Cloud is really great, because anyone can learn it, anyone can start using it, and anyone could write a very professional looking specification with it.
This is Dan from Parks in New York. Last year we started bringing summer interns into our design office and introduced them to specifications writing and what the role of specifications is in a complete set of construction documents, the relationship between specifications and drawings. And we're also working to standardize our specifications and our construction documents more across the various regions of New York State parks. And so we're reaching out and working with our fellow design professionals, not just the next generation, but all our current generation, to try to bring everybody up into the same, have the same standard for specifications, and also come up with a uniformity of for instance, our Division I specifications. And if I backtrack a little bit, one of the other things that I liked about the cost savings and capabilities of the program are the ability to run like submittal reports. I think Holly had mentioned running reports, but to be able to extract out lists of submittals is a super time saver.
Thank you. That's very helpful. All right. At this point, I'd love to open it up to questions from the audience. We have a few minutes here. One question that we have here, Holly and Myrna, this one is for you. Who is managing the documentation and changes as you get the facilities involved? Do you give them access, and how do you control their access to it?
Yes. So I guess I'm the document manager. I was assigned the document manager, so I control all the permissions of everyone who wants to be involved in commenting. Most of the permissions I've given them is a standard permission. I think you have different types of permission: editing permissions, viewing, and I think viewing and commenting falls under the standard, I think standard permission. So that's what I gave most people. They really couldn't do anything other than that. The others that helped me with the managing all the input from facilities members and other contributors, they were assigned the expert permissions, I guess, because they would be able to, if they needed to, tweak some things, but also coordinate back with Holly anything that was tweaked. But not a lot of that happened. I was expecting some of that to happen, but I guess we were just too shy, or we just didn't feel confident enough or trained enough to do that. And honestly, we didn't really train as much as we'd like to, so that's why we didn't comment as much as an expert would. But we were considered expert in the approach of commenting, but we basically managed the permissions by just giving them a standard permission.
So on all of their documents, we imported all of their documents in, and then I went through and we have the track changes on in the document, and I tracked anything that I wanted to delete or that I wanted to add, and then our commenters off to the side. I had one, our engineers, they were really great about anything that I had struck through or that I had added. He would comment, he would use the commenting pane, and he would say, keep, no, delete, keep this with next, change this. So we did have different levels. They're not able to change the body of the document because of how Myrna did set them up, but they were able to use the review and comment. So that's really great when you're trying to like update masters. You don't need everybody to be in there making changes to the body of the document. Only I think myself and my team and Myrna at this point can actually change the body of the document. I think it's the way she has it set up, and then everybody else is a lower level where they can view and comment. And that was very helpful to do it that way also. So I didn't have to worry about people going in and like making changes while I was trying to do all my updating.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Another question came through. Now, we discussed all the different sections that live within SpecLink, but I would love for someone to speak a little bit to the importing and exporting tool. Someone was wondering, can we create custom sections within SpecLink?
Every day. So it is, first off, if you have a document that an owner has and they want to use their own document, there are a couple of things that you have to like be conscious of. If it's set up with a lot of hard returns in it, those need to come out. And if it has section breaks, those are a problem. So you go through your original document and you take those out, and then you just click on a button that says new section, and you can import the section. It imports immediately. It imports pretty much really beautifully. Or if you're creating a new section, you just there's just a little drop-down tab, and you just click the button and you say create new section, and you name it, and then it has just the basics, and you just start putting the information in. It's very, very easy to import. The only issue that I had with importing documents was our engineers. They love tables. So when we had tables, some of them imported just perfectly. The tables imported great, but most of the time the tables are kind of a problem, and we had to like redo the tables. But importing documents, it takes like, I mean, 10 seconds. So easy.
And I would like to add that another way to create specifications is by just cutting and pasting from a Word document. That's how I actually often do it, as opposed to uploading a specification, which you can do, but sometimes you lose some of the formatting. It's not, because when you upload a Word document, it doesn't always translate the same into SpecLink. But to a cut and paste, I would start off with a template, like was just mentioned. I would start off with a basic template, and then I would take the Word document and then just cut and paste, whatever I needed into the SpecLink template, and I can just very easily create a new specification like that. And you can, the way it works, to indent, like 1. Then 1A, then 2A, whatever it is, you can demote or promote sentences or paragraphs, and it's just a very easy tool to use. So cutting and pasting from a Word document into SpecLink is also very possible, and it's also very very easy to do. So that's my preferred way of doing it. I know other people might like the uploading of a whole document instead, but there are multiple ways to create a specification in SpecLink, and also you could add images into a specification. I had to do that. For instance, in one of our Division 1s, we have to for signage, we had to show a graphic of the latest New York City DOB signage. So you can upload graphics up to a certain point. There's a certain limit. I know in SpecLink E there's a certain limit as to the size of the file. That I don't know if it's any different in SpecLink Cloud. Maybe you can upload a bigger file, but you can upload images into SpecLink in a specification as well as tables. So in that regard, you can basically upload anything that you need into SpecLink to create a specification.
Wonderful, thank you. Another question came in, and if the panel doesn't mind, I'd love to take this one. What is the best way to learn more about SpecLink and get some experience with software before purchasing the package? Excuse me. Following the webinar, we'll actually be sending out a link to the recording as well as a link to sign up for a free extended trial as our way of saying thank you for joining us. So please feel free to click that button and sign up for your free trial there. You can also reach out to me directly, sschuman@bsdspeclink.com, and I can connect you immediately. That way you can learn more about it, about options within there, and then we can connect you to one of our sales account executives to get you set up with that free trial. Let's see, I think we have time for one more question here. We had a question about a Girl Scout merit badge for specification writing, and let me know what I need to sign to get that to happen. That would be absolutely wonderful. Here we have one question. How do you encourage people to comment within SpecLink and to get more involved in the review process? I'll open that to the team.
I think if you walk them through it and show them how easy it is. I mean, we had a team, we had a team at UT Southwest that was not really thrilled about it. I think if you're responsive and open and answer their questions and walk it through them and actually show them on the screen, I think it helps. You can't force people to, participate, but I feel like we got pretty good response from everybody, just being responsive and helping.
I think our willingness as a design team, my team was very, very willing to help facilities warm up to the change of how to update these moving forward. So we kind of, prepped them for it, like it was coming. We were kind of giving them updates. Hey, it's coming. Hey, expect this. This is going to happen. And then when it finally happened, everyone was, we got a lot of pushback, but at the same time, we got a lot of support from our leadership that this is the way we're going to go with this. So it's important that you have leadership buy-in to do this, because otherwise the pushback that you're going to get is just going to be disastrous if you don't have the backup. It's also helpful to just be very patient with everyone, because not everyone is computer savvy and not everyone knows how to maneuver things on a database on the cloud. So we did have some patience with them and with facilities, and we did run through how to go to each step of just to get them to comment, to participate. And once they got in there, they were more than willing to do it. I think it's just us having patience, us having show them, and then also too having the support that we needed, and also the technical support too really matters. Holly's team and their expertise in speaking that language that facilities was looking for in a team, and in general, was very helpful to have that kind of communication back and forth. That really helped tremendously. And so if we weren't experts in some section, we would always defer to Holly to help us with that. So that too brought that level of confidence that what we were doing was definitely meaningful and for a bigger purpose.
Wonderful. Thank you. I want to take a quick minute to thank all of our panelists for taking the time today to join us, to all of our attendees that joined us live today. Also wanted to just remind everyone, we will be sending out an email following the webinar with a link to the recording of the webinar, a link to a free trial of Spec Link, as well as a link to part 2, which will take place next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern with Ford, AECOM, Port of San Diego, and Prince George's County Public Schools, where we'll be running part 2 of our webinar. Until next time, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.